So you've been in HR for a long time. And
Yes.
so like what I'm getting at, and even by your own admission, you brought up like, well, even the simplest staffing agency is going to have some sort of ATS, but previously you'd said these ATSs have been around, since the 90s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technology that's been developed, since then to make those things more sophisticated. And even like, I'm even aware of, I don't know if these are an applicant tracking system, I think is like where if I was to go ahead and buy it like for our firm, and then people like, apply for jobs and it takes you to the careers page, which it looks like it's branded like ours.
That's exactly
but it's actually like that's the applicant tracking system, right? On our end, at least.
Yeah.
Is that?
That's correct.
Do you think that's something that's that we'll continue to see, or is that going to get phased out? Or?
Well, so here's the problem with ATSs, in my opinion, right? So they're there for compliance. And in the 1990s, when they first became, fundamentally popular and, the first stage of human resource technology, they were far more effective than, if some of us can remember, applying for a job in the classifieds, right? You're looking through a paper and circling and, is the job still available? The concept of running through a Web 1.0 application process with God knows how many pages, horrible user experience, very unexplanatory, of miserable page loading speeds, never really having no MarTech whatsoever, so knowing if you've actually successfully completed your journey. But it was better than trying to circle an ad in a newspaper. Sadly, those platforms have not necessarily, applicant tracking systems, some of them, because there's 365 that currently operate, many of them have not progressed their user experience to cater for the fact that an ATS, the second that someone touches your company to even apply for a job or anything, they are touching your brand, okay? They're touching the experience of potentially being a part of your company, whether they work for you or whether they're a customer. And this was actually proven by Hilton Hotels. They did a test. Mm-hmm. They gave vouchers to every person that applied for a job at Hilton that wasn't successful to see what happened. And all of those people spent $110 million with Hilton with those vouchers the very next year. Which means that typically if you're a big company and you're applying for your job, you're probably a customer too, which means you have to provide a brand experience. Applicant tracking systems, which are now nearly 30 years old, many of them have not evolved their user experience to cater for the new digital experiences that especially the younger generation now, who don't remember circling classifieds or never had to, are now much more used to the seamlessness of Uber, the seamlessness of DoorDash, the seamlessness of Amazon. And now they're on your terrible applicant tracking system, going through 16 pages of forms, timing out, logging out, failing, and going, forget this, because this company's archaic. Mm-hmm. So yes, it is HR tech, but it's like saying, well, yes, I've decided to work out this math equation with an abacus. Yeah, there is something involved with it, but archaic, at the very least.
Okay, I think that we're going to turn to the live stream now. We've got maybe some questions there. Katie, what do we have?
We have a question about ChatGPT and the ATS. Do you think that forward-leaning technology like that will have an impact on the ATS? And if so, could you maybe just describe a little bit about how you see that going?
Sure. Well, an ATS exists to cope with application volume, right? So before an ATS existed and when classifieds existed, you would call and speak to a human and they would run you through all of the questions that they'd need to answer in order to validate and verify whether or not you were a human worth reaching the next stage. ChatGPT is in essence a new natural language experience that you'll be able to go through as a chat in a much more fluid and I guess engaging experience, because the technology behind it could be applied to an avatar, it could be applied to some sort of human feeling interface that's within your phone that feels far more conversational and natural in order to extract the information out of the job seeker that you need to complete all of your compliance questions to determine whether or not that person is suitable for the purposes of hiring. And also at the same time, whilst talking through a chat solution like that that's so sophisticated, you're transcribing, parsing, matching, analyzing. Dare I say, if it's over video, analyzing facial recognition and heat maps to see if they're lying. And depending on where you're applying for a job, like the government, to determine whether or not that person's a good fit. So yes, it's absolutely going to be a disruptor. I'm I will say that, immediately for us as a business, just at job.com, we're already looking at how that can be used. I think it's being slightly media-y, bulked up in its capability. I think you imagine that as a platform like that, that's going to have so many various data inputs from so much information, because everybody's jumped on this height of ChatGPT, it will have a huge amount of sophistication, but you'll have to refine that sophistication for the purposes of hiring. So I've used it to write job specifications, for example, and it's fairly effective within degrees of, relevancy, but it can't do specific nuances around a particular, why work at Caldwell? It doesn't know anything about Caldwell.
Right.
But one day it will. And when it will, it'll probably sell it better than one of your staff could.
Yeah.
So it's coming, for sure.